in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. Tonight, I have a very special guest. Mr. Martin Pazzani is in the building. How you doing, Mr. Martin?
I'm great. 34. Feeling good. Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time and openness to being asked these questions. So first off, just want to ask you, how have you been? You've been doing well. Been going through it. How have you been?
I'm great. You know, I've stayed very active during this last year and a half of COVID. I've written a book during that time. And the book is about getting outside, and I've been living that. So I get outside almost every day. I hike, I run, work out, and I'm very busy at work. So I have actually been very occupied, and I'm pretty good. Although, you know, you've got to feel for the situation that we've all been through. So, you know, there's that. But all things considered, I'm great.
For sure. Have you always been an outdoorsy kind of person, or is that just something new you got into?
My whole life. My dad got me into it at a very young age, and I wrote this book to commemorate 50 years of hiking and climbing around the world. So yeah, I've been doing it for a really long time, and that's kind of my shtick at this point. Fit hiking outdoors guy. Yeah.
For sure.
And a senior citizen too. So yeah, that's my thing.
That's what's up. Is there any place that you haven't traveled to or been to that, you know, that is on your list, you know?
Oh, you know, it's a big world, 34. There's a lot of places to go, but you know, I've been to all 7 continents. I've climbed major mountains on all 7. I've hiked all around the world. I travel quite a bit for both my job and my hobbies, which is hiking and climbing. And yeah, so, but I'm not even close to seeing every place I want to see. So big world, lots to do still.
No doubt. It seems like there's not enough time sometimes, you know. I know for me, I haven't done anything compared to what you've done, but yeah, I feel like my time is, I don't want to sound morbid about it, but it feels like time's running out sometimes.
Yeah, I know. You know, I know the feeling. It always does, but that's kind of something that can push you along. If you feel like you've just got to get stuff done, you make the time and you just take action instead of sitting around, you know, watching television or doing nothing, sitting on the couch. You got to go out there and be proactive. And you know, I wasn't always a world traveler. I didn't get on an airplane until I was 20 for the first time. But since then, I made up for it. And between 20 and now, I just turned 65 last week. I've got about, 6 million air miles all over the world. And I've made getting out there and traveling high priority. I'm just hungry for information about the world and people and places and getting to interesting places. So I've made it a priority.
That's what's up. And that's definitely something I would love to turn my life into someday, if not, you know, now. But
start now.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I do have a little icebreaker for you, which is a 1-word spelling bee. And feel free to participate. Feel free to pass. It's up to you. But would you like to try it?
Well, yeah, I'm a decent speller. I'm not a spelling bee champion, but let's give it a shot. Sure, why not?
All right. I got a list of the top 100 misspelled words in the English language.
Oh, well, they're hard words. Come on, man. All right, go ahead.
They're not super hard, I don't think, but all right. The word is going to be inoculate.
Innoculate.
You have one more chance, and you added an extra letter, so go ahead and try again.
Oh, is it Innoculate? One N?
Yes, sir. It was.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is how it is. I'm sure I was able to spell that word at one point. Spell check has made us all stupid. You know?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. You know, I used to be one of those spelling bee champs, and my skills have gone to waste.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into a few more warm-up questions. This next one is, what would you like the audience to know about you? Anything in specific? You kind of opened up already, but if there's anything.
Yeah, you know, what I'm trying. Listen, I told you I just turned 65. What I'm trying to do with the rest of my life is I have some big plans for some new businesses. I've got another book in me, and I got a lot of places to go and a lot of places to see. So my whole thing is never retire. I think it makes you go downhill both physically and cognitively. So I intend to work until I drop. And I mean that. I've got a startup about to launch right now. I've got another startup business I'm working on. Again, working on a book. I just don't ever want to sit still and start to slide down that curve of inactivity and aging. So I'm going to stay as active and vital as I can for as long as I can.
I got you. Are you, you don't have to be any, you don't have to reveal any of your secrets, but are you jumping into new things, or are you just building upon stuff that you've already kind of?
Well, I'm in the fitness business. I was in the big box fitness business for a while, and now I'm launching a new fitness venture in Cincinnati that specializes in fitness for people above age 50, because I believe they're an ignored part of the population as far as fitness goes. And if you get fit in your 50s and 60s, it gives you a longer, happier, healthier life, and you don't get sick as much. So it just is something we're trying to do with a great group of people, and it's kind of becoming my mission. And I know you're really into talking about legacy, so I've had a long business career, but I don't feel it's legacy worthy, really. And this is what I want my legacy to be, is to have a big impact at a population level on the aging population.
I got you. I definitely got to learn more about what you're doing. My folks, they're getting over some health issues, and I'm trying to help boost them into a more active lifestyle, which, it can be a struggle, especially if they've been used to a certain lifestyle for a long time. But yeah, anything that can be exciting for them to jump into, I think, would be helpful for me to know about. So,
well, it's a pretty common problem, 34. My parents got old fast. They retired at age 63, younger than I am now. And they got old very fast. They moved to Florida. They stopped moving. They stopped thinking. Their highlight of the day was walking the dog. They got old. They got sick. And I'm trying to be the opposite of that. I wish I had known then what I know now. I would have got them up and moving. But yeah, we all suffer from that. It's a generational thing. Our parents, a lot of them, have aged too fast and gotten sick too soon. So I'm trying to help people get out of that predictable rut and let them know they can actually take charge of the way they age.
You said that was a generational issue. What do you think it made that our parents feel or get older faster and not look out for their wealth as much?
Well, there's two things. First of all, retirement age is set at 65. I think that's too young. We live to be 80 now. I think retirement age was set 80 plus. Retirement age was set in place when life expectancy was 67. And so, that's, I think, too young now. So I think people automatically assume at 65, you've got to slow down. I don't think that's right. Especially when we can live into our 90s regularly now. But the other thing is companies don't necessarily want to hire elders, really experienced people at this point in time. Plus, there's also this inherent belief that you are going to age. You're going to start to age rapidly. And science is showing now that through fitness and exercise and activity and cognitive stimulation, you can delay the aging curve and live, you can feel in body and brain much younger than your years. And I think that's a great way to be. So I think we've fallen into a rut. And I think that it's time that we got comfortable living with an older population.
I got you.
Putting it to use.
For sure. I have more questions about that, but I'll save that for later. The second warm-up question is, if someone were to pay a tribute, how would you like to be honored? Like a tribute to you. If I was going to say I wanted to honor Martin Pazzani today in some kind of act, what could I do in your honor?
Ooh, that's a tough one. My career has been in marketing and brand marketing, and I always, the brands have always come in the forefront. I've always been in the background. I don't know what kind of a tribute would mean the most to me. Maybe something along the lines of my mission right now is that I'm trying to make a difference in the way people age. And I'm trying to live that life myself and be an example of that, and then teach and show other people through my company and my book that there's another way to age. And that's what I hope to be remembered for. And that's the kind of tribute I think that would have the most meaning to me.
I gotcha. Was there anybody that served as inspiration for you with this mindset, or is this just something you developed on your own and, kind of fostered for yourself,
It's a combination of forces. I think number one, started to feel this way in my 50s when I saw my parents aging poorly, and I didn't want to repeat that. I've also had the chance to work with some entrepreneurs and executives in their 70s and 80s who were still active and vital. And I can't single one out because there's been a bunch of them that inspired me that, you don't have to retire at 67 and do nothing or throttle back. You can still go 100 miles an hour if you're capable into your 80s. And so that, plus all the new science about what's happening with aging and brain health and how you can change the trajectory of the way you're aging has given me a great deal of hope for the future.
Sure, for sure. And then the last question in the warm-up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
I work on that, actually. I have to say 7.5. As you get older, I think you know yourself better. If you asked me this 20 years ago, I probably would have said 9, but it really was probably a 3. But, I think that with age, you start to know yourself better and what you can and can't do. And you start to be less concerned with the criticisms and maybe more receptive to feedback as you put on the years. There's a certain arrogance and maybe overconfidence when you're younger that goes away eventually. And you also just learn more about yourself from everything you do, your successes, your failures, your feedback, your friends, all that mileage gives you a bit more self-awareness than when you're young. So even though I have to say 7.5, I'm still a work in progress, I like to think. So we'll see.
No worries. 7.5 has probably been the most common answer I've had on the show.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's interesting. And, not everyone's has the same life experience and same mileage. So it's always, for me, wondering why people kind of settle on 7.5 is interesting. And,
No, it makes perfect sense, actually. And the reason I picked it is it's not too low to sound like you have no clue, and it's not too high that you sound arrogant. That's right there. It's a perfect answer, I think. That doesn't surprise me what you said,
Yeah. I mean, other than that, most people say 5. I'm in the 5 group. We put ourselves a little bit lower because we feel like it's a better average. It's like right in the middle.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like if I'm not a 7.5 at age 65, boy, I'm in trouble.
Or you could just be so open up to yourself that, there's a lot more that you just don't know about yourself. Either way, it's all how you see it, right? One follow-up question to that is, what is your favorite thing about your personality?
Ooh, well, that's hard. Yeah, it's hard. I think it's probably safe to say I'm more curious than most people. I'm constantly learning. Again, I've made a whole lifetime out of getting out there and getting perspective and traveling and going places and learning things. So, I think my curiosity is probably something that I would mention in that. Very curious.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we've made it to the main portion of the interview where you begin to choose numbers between 1 and 34, and we'll get the conversation rolling that way. There are 3 levels. I don't know if you've seen the latest document, but I did do an easy, medium, hard, and we can go through the levels as we go on through the conversation. So feel free to give me the level and the number you'd like to choose.
All right. Well, let's start at 1. No, let's start at 2 and number 7.
Number 2, number 7. If your life stages were broken into books, what would they be called?
Ooh, that's tough.
You could also do age range for like each book,
Yeah, well, I think there would have to be growing up, which would be 0 to 21. And from 21 to 60, it would be family, career, work. And from 65 up, it would be using all that to achieve something that would be a legacy. So learning, living, legacy.
Learning, living, legacy. And I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little bit more. So in that first book, growing up, was there any point that you would consider like a climax to the story where, afterwards it put you on a different mindset and like ready to move on to that next stage? Yeah.
No, it was pretty smooth. I was born in Brooklyn and we moved ultimately to Connecticut. So I've got no trauma, nothing to really fall back on. That was kind of like a building block. I just have to say it was a pretty solid upbringing. My parents were very strict. They made us all, 4 kids. I'm the oldest. They made us go to school and learn. And my dad was a fireman, so he was really, really disciplined and hard driving. And so we all did well in school. And I think it was just a matter of accumulating knowledge and information and learning. And probably, I guess, if there's a real building block, it's probably going to college. Was the thing. I was actually the first person in my entire family to go to college. So there was a lot of pressure to, it came from a working class family, and there's a lot of pressure on me to use that to do something different. And, I got a corporate job and then went on from there. So I'd say college was the turning point in that first book. Also the end point of it, yeah.
I got you. How would you say you fully utilized your college experience? I know for myself, I can't really say that, but yeah.
Yeah, yes. I was I was a hardworking student, but I didn't take it all that seriously. I never tried to get all A's. I didn't care about that. I was real comfortable with B's and learning outside of the classroom, partying and traveling, and I learned how to rock climb and, all that kind of stuff. I like the extracurriculars quite a bit. So, it wasn't just academics for me. It was the whole 9 yards of fun and people and going places and being without your parents and having very few responsibilities and, doing the stupid stuff that you do when you're in college and learning from those stupid things you do. I mean, really stupid sometimes, And so, no, it was, I can't say I was, I certainly wasn't the best academically in college, but I wasn't trying to be. I was trying to get a bigger learning experience through the extracurriculars. And it's kind of funny. When my son went to college, I very quickly detected he was doing the same thing, and I was pretty pissed off at him. He didn't really care about grades. He was having fun. And as it turned out, he wound up just fine. But I know it infuriated my parents because they wanted me to have straight A's. That's the way they were. But I just wanted to get the whole experience down. So, yeah.
For sure. And you mentioned you were the oldest of 4 in your family. I grew up an only child, so I'm kind of curious if being the firstborn, there was any kind of expectations or pressures you put on yourself, or were you more of like, nah, it doesn't have to be that way,
Yeah, no, I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself. As I said, my parents were kind of expecting me to be straight A's and all that all the time, and they, because they were paying a lot of money for college, and they couldn't understand. Like I can remember, I actually admitted to my dad I'd skipped a couple classes to do something else. He got really pissed. I mean, like I'm paying for you to skip, that whole thing. It was really, it was quite amazing. But no, as the oldest, I didn't feel like I was breaking ground because I knew my siblings behind me were going to do the same. They were pretty smart, and it's not like we went to an expensive school. We went to University of Connecticut, all of us, state school, and but we did well there. We got a pretty good education, and that's all my parents could afford. So that's what we all did. But no, they all did well, and but They actually pushed me. The number two brother was academically a lot better, and my dad was always saying, "Look at your brother; he's got straight A's. How come you can't?" You know, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So anyway.
Well, to dive a little bit deeper, did those comparisons ever get to you? Like, as far as, your parents telling you, why can't be like your brother, kind of statements? Because that does happen now.
Maybe in a little way, but it didn't really. It was just kind of the way it was. There was that. When you grow up in a family of four, and you're always that family of four, there's always that pecking order. So there's always some reason why you're squabbling, and why mom and dad are on your case. No, I didn't feel that was unusual, or no, it's just the way it was. That's the way it was in our family.
No, for sure. And I've worked with high schoolers and some youth in the past, and that was something new. They were kind of like, emphasizing in our workshops as mentors, was the whole comparison and how to avoid it and what it means. And it's something that, like you said, it's just how it was, and it's one of those things that have been changing as time has gone on. But yeah. All right, go ahead and throw me another number.
Let's do 9.
9, same level 2?
Level 2.
Level 2. Number 9, what gets you up in the morning?
Lots to do, man. Lots to do. I mean, I've got another book to write. I've got a company to launch, and we're busy with that. And then if the weather's nice, I try to figure out how I'm going to get an outdoor hike or run into the equation. And I got lots. I look forward to getting up and being busy. And also I look forward to getting up and just enjoying the day. No one's going into the office anymore. So, you do have some flexibility, and I'm taking advantage of it. So I love the winter. I like it when it rains. So I don't stay inside when that bad weather hits. I like to get out and be out. So I got plenty to do, lots to get to. So I got no trouble getting up.
For sure. This, on the flip side, is there anything that keeps you up at night? Or,
well, launching a company is tough. You got responsibilities. We got people. We got investors, and now we've got a weird economy and COVID potentially. It's put us a year behind schedule. So, the future is less certain than it was a while ago, and so the responsibilities that come with spending investor money, spending your own money and time and money, and at age 65, you don't want to make mistakes with your career. You want things to be successful. So I don't want to say I'm a worrier, but I'm a thinker about the good and the bad. And yeah, if you let it get carried away, you can have sleepless nights. Fortunately, I don't have that many sleepless nights. I deal with stress pretty well, and at my age, and I've had some near-death experiences, stuff that happens with business and money tends not to cause stress with me. It's life and death as it causes stress with me. So I kind of keep it in perspective. But I think I have a good balance between the optimism and, let's call it, the paranoia of business, where you're always looking behind you to see if something bad is going to happen or something's going to catch up with you. I think I balance that pretty well, but time will tell.
And is this new venture your first venture, or have you opened up other businesses before?
No, I'm at this stage. I left the corporate world when I was age 51. I'm now 65. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. This is my 10th startup that I've been involved with, and I've had 2 hits. About 6 shut them down, and 2 are active and thriving. So I think that's a pretty good ratio. We've done pretty well, and we've had 1 exit, which was good. So no, I like it. I do like it, and I think that part of the reason I like entrepreneurship is because I can deal with stress and uncertainty better than some can. Some people are comfortable in a corporate world, and I was for a long time, but I got to the point where I wanted to be able to prove to myself that success or failure was based on me and my team and a smaller team, and not have to worry about the bureaucracy and the momentum of a big company. And that's why I like startups. So it's kind of like my hobby of hiking and climbing. It's risky. And I like the uncertainty of it, the exploration, the covering new ground. And so both in my personal life and my business life, I feel that's a kind of a common link, and it's part of me at this point. So I do kind of like that.
For sure. So being a part of a corporation versus doing your own thing, what differences have you seen and kind of lived through? I ask because this is probably my third project. I could never call them businesses that I tried to done before because I'm not a business-minded person. So I had to rephrase that in my mind, just call them projects. So this is my third project, and yeah, I find it super hard, and I'm not the only one. I feel like in my position to continually work for a corporation when I feel like there's these things that I want to do or want to accomplish, but I feel like I'm wasting time at a corporate job. So what was your experience like?
Well, at the beginning, it was what I trained for. It's what I went to school for. I mean, I got, at the time, a classic MBA. So I was a business guy looking forward to working in a big corporation and doing that climb the corporate ladder thing. And I did it again for a long time, from age 22 to age 51. I was a corporate guy. But at some point, it's not boring, but you start to feel like your efforts are diluted by a big bureaucracy and other people who maybe aren't at the same level as you, and you feel like a cog in a wheel. I got promoted pretty regularly, and when I left the corporate world, I was a CEO, so I can't be complaining about a cog in a wheel, but it got to be a grind of bureaucracy and rules and doing what was basically predictable stuff. And again, all my entire business career, I was sort of an explorer, a hiker, and a climber. And it sort of dawned on me that I should be that way in my career as well. So I took the leap and I decided to do startups and work for entrepreneurial ventures. And I'm glad I did. I'm a much happier camper. I mean, I didn't get this white hair but through age. I'm the only one in my family. My brother, 2 years younger, doesn't have white hair, and I got that by being a corporate guy. The grind of corporations, it wears on you, and it did for me. I got no real complaints. It's just I was ready to leave that world and become an entrepreneur, and I think I did the right thing.
I imagine you had some experience in starting a business when you made that switch at 51. Was there anything that you weren't prepared for, or something that kind of caught you off guard?
Seriously, there's a lot. I mean, I have to tell you, I didn't have any startup experience. I was called an intrapreneur when I was corporate, which means a corporate entrepreneur, but it's nothing like being a real entrepreneur. You have to do it all. You have to, startups are much, much harder than corporate jobs. You have to do everything from top to bottom. You have to put together a team. You have to have a much broader skill set. And and at the end of the day, there's no momentum, there's no customers, there's no investors unless you get them. So it's all on your back, and it's harder. And I made this move in 2008, and it was a bad economy. I didn't expect it to be so bad. The venture I was going into was in the music industry. The music industry imploded in 2008. At least the part I was in. Apple changed the dynamics of the music industry, and it went from analog to digital, and I didn't think it would happen that fast. So that venture didn't go very far. It was a tough year, but learned a heck of a lot. And so, there's an adage somewhere that you really don't learn the game until you have your real skin in the game, and that's true. You can be a great corporate person, but when it's your money and your time and your future, that's when you really learn how to play the game. And so even through failures and mediocre successes, you get better at it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. All right, well, I'm gonna throw you a little curveball here. I don't know if you got to that portion of the document, but they are fill in the blanks, and your fill in the blank is going to be, I'm too old to blank.
I'm too old. I'm too old. I was going to say I'm too young. I had that one ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You know, I'm not sure I'm too old to do anything at this point. In my head, you know, I've got some years on me, but I still feel like a kid inside, and I don't mind, I don't mind acting like a kid. I like that I still am in touch with that. You know, it's kind of funny. Because I'm in the fitness business, I've been searching for ways to work out that are not boring. And I discovered about a month ago, it's really kind of funny. This sounds totally ridiculous. My new aerobic high intensity exercise is skipping.
Skipping.
Like I was a 7-year-old kid. And I've got to tell you something, it's freaking great. It gets your heart rate up. It gets your agility. It works the right muscles. You look like an idiot, 65-year-old guy skipping. But I've fallen in love with it. And last year I specialized in jump rope. So, you know, you can act like a kid. I guess I'm too old to, I'm not too old to do anything. I feel like I can do it all. I can still do it.
For sure. Skipping wise, is that like the high knees as you're going forward?
Yeah, the higher you go from me, the better the workout. Because I wear a heart rate monitor when I do it. So the more ridiculous you look with the high knees and the skipping, the more you look like you're on a playground, the much better the workout. And frankly, you know, the higher you get your knee and the more you jump, that's a plyometric exercise. That kind of exercise is outstanding for building not only the heart rate, but leg strength and flexibility and strength, which comes in handy in my hiking and climbing. So skipping, I highly recommend it. I'm going to open a school for skipping if I get a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's one of those things that I guess as the older you get, you kind of like skipping. That's not something I do anymore.
I've convinced 2 other people to do it as well. And so there's a bunch of skipping fools around here now.
That sounds like a good skipping club name, Skipping Fools. Just put
I probably, you're right, yeah. Put a Facebook page.
And I had a fleeting question. I'm sorry. Hopefully it comes back to me. But let's move on to another number. Sticking with the level 2s.
Let's do 21.
21. What are you too stubborn to let go of?
Ooh. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't really believe in astrology, but other people do, and I'm a Taurus, and they tell me I'm really stubborn. So there's probably a lot of things that I haven't let go of. I can't think of one offhand, but you know, the funny thing is, when you're an entrepreneur, persistence is considered to be the number one skill, you know, not giving up in the face of adversity. So I think you could almost argue that one of my ventures, such high risk, I may be too stupid to give that up, but I'm not. And another one, which is an 8-year-old startup that we're only just launching, you could argue that I should have given it up, but we're now on version 4.0 and it's successful and we've got investors. So I think my stubbornness, not giving up on that, is going to prove to be a really good thing down the road a bit. So yeah, stubborn is my personality, I guess, persistent. And so there's a lot of things, you know. I hang on to stuff maybe too long. I probably should, not that I'm a hoarder, but I probably should get rid of some stuff. So yeah, stubbornness, that's what I am. I hang on to stuff.
Would you say that's something that you've been aware of, that you've always been? Like
yeah. It's something weird about it. I have a sentimental attachment to some stuff that I can't get rid of that I probably should, you know. And I think I've been that way since I was a little kid.
Yeah, I am a fellow Taurus as well, so I'm not a stranger to stubbornness or people calling me stubborn. But yes, one of the hardest things I had to do recently, I got rid of all my like old high school stuff and like yearbook stuff, and it was something that was sentimental to me. I held on for a long time, and kind of felt like it was a good gesture to kind of let go of my past and, you know, the idea of who I was back then. But I also kind of regret it because now I didn't at least scan them and have a copy of them somewhere. But yeah, I understand about the letting go. Let's move on to another number. Go for it.
24.
24. What is a memory you may be misremembering?
Well, how would you know?
How would you know? I guess the question's more so, is there any memory you're willing to admit that you may be misremembering where, you know, you could have been wrong about a situation, if you're open to sharing that?
You know, nothing's jumping to mind on that one. Let's skip and I'll come back to that if I can think. It'll simmer around in the back of my head. It's nothing's coming to mind on that. But I got to think. I got a thought here. Let's skip to level 3. Let's go for it all.
Okay.
Let's go back to my favorite number 7 on level 3.
When someone is struggling with self-esteem, what is your go-to advice?
You know, I can't say I'm an expert. This is an area I give a lot of thought, and it's a whole 2 chapters of my book. Self-esteem is the result of not always being right, but learning and working and putting in the effort to get expert at something, whether it's physical or professional skill or knowledge. And so my advice to someone, myself included, is when you're feeling down about something, work harder at it and accomplish something. Like, for instance, I do my book about hiking teaches people who are beginners to work harder, and the self-esteem you get from gradually getting stronger and more fit and hiking and climbing further and higher, that's real self-esteem. It builds confidence. There's a concept called self-efficacy, and you only get that by effort, by getting better at something, by studying, by working hard. It doesn't come from a pat on the back or, you know, a teacher giving you a good grade. You have to actually earn it. And that's where self-esteem comes from. So my advice always is find something, a goal, and take steps to get to that goal, and you'll feel good about yourself. And if you miss, try again and try again, persistence. And eventually you'll get to the point where you get better at things. And that process of the work, you have to do the work to have really, to internalize self-esteem. So I believe in tough love on this one. A lot of people like to take the soft path, but, you know, again, as I said, my parents were strict. My father was a tough love guy, and he just used to make us work harder, and that's kind of part of me now. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Self-esteem comes from hard work and the accomplishment you get from doing something and overcoming obstacles, and that's the real strong self-esteem. So work harder.
I gotcha. In the same vein, sort of, would you say your ego is more of your friend or your enemy?
Probably enemy. And if by that you mean pride, maybe enemy. I think that's a thing you get with a little bit of age. That's kind of like know yourself. I think I've learned that probably my ego could get in the way, and wanting to be right and get credit sometimes gets in the way of getting results. And sometimes you should put that aside and think about things as doesn't matter who gets the credit as long as you get results. So yeah, I think my ego has gotten in the way from time to time. I'm still working on it. You know, I'm still young. I got a long way to go here, and I'll get better.
No doubt. Go ahead and throw me another number.
Let's do 9 again, level 3.
9. What do you feel like you've taken for granted?
You know, for a long time I took for granted, and this is when I was a corporate guy, that there was always an easy, predictable uphill climb. That things are going to get better. Next year you get promoted, you get a raise. Everything's going to get better. and it all moves up. And I think in the last decade, I've learned that there's lots of ups and downs and sideways, and you can't always predict the future. There's surprises along the way. There's downturns, and you better be prepared to deal with failure, and that the world isn't always going to be rosy and your friend. So you learn to accept the unpredictability of things. So yeah, that's a tough one to learn too. You get kind of get in a rut of everything's going to be good, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really felt that same kind of path or.
Well, you know what? I was going to say that comes from my formative years when I started working were the early 80s, and everything was booming. So it went on for 20 years. And then we've all learned that that's not always the way it's going to be. So yeah, I get it. Someone your age, like my son is 39. I mean, his first semester in college was 9/11. And so his generation and your generation, it's like, whoa, things are not always going to be good. I mean, he was at college for 1 week when the World Trade Center was attacked. So and my daughter at age 25, they've not had the easy ride that I think I had my first 20 years of my career. So we are just sort of in a unpredictable world, and you can't take anything for granted right now.
It's interesting. You're probably the first person I've heard say that that had gone through that time in the 80s of finding a different path and compared to what it is nowadays. So it's interesting for me to hear it from someone who's actually lived through it.
Yeah, well, we didn't know it at the time. It was, and frankly, I mean, I was a kid during the 60s, which was a rough period. But ever since World War II, everything's been going up, and now we're kind of going sideways. And so we took a whole generation, 2 generations, took a lot for granted, and now we're all questioning things right now.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. I can't find the right words to formulate what the thought I was having, but that's before we go any further, just want to say we got about 15 minutes left in the podcast. Want to thank you again for coming on. I hope you're having fun.
This is great.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that you're having fun. Go ahead and throw me another number.
Let's do 12.
12. How could you be kinder to yourself?
I'm pretty tough on myself. On the other hand, I do reward myself from time to time with little vacations, and little presents and stuff. And I don't know, lately I feel terrible because every now and then I see something I want, like one click to Amazon and it arrives the next day. So I'm giving myself all these little presents. I don't feel like I need to be kinder to myself. I probably need to be more disciplined about not clicking on Amazon and rewarding myself regularly with stuff I probably don't need.
Oh, I hear you. I feel like we all go through that Amazon phase of like, oh man, it's just so easy for it to come to my door.
But if I think more deeply about that, having spent more than 6 months writing a book, when it was done, I was really not liking it, but it's doing pretty well, and it's selling on Amazon. And so I'm feeling better about it now that it's been out in the market for almost a year and people are buying it and commenting on it, and I'm doing speaking engagements based on it. So it's well received, but there was a period where I really didn't like it. I was pretty hard on myself. I didn't think I did very well, but
What's the book called?
The book is called The Secrets of Aging Well, Get Outside. And it's about my passion for hiking and my passion for anti-aging and the techniques of fitness that enable you to live a happier, healthier, longer life and be healthier and don't get sick and don't go down that path of aging. And it's combined with some personal stories about my adventures climbing and hiking around the world.
Wow, how long did it take you to write that?
It took me 6 months to lay it out and 6 months to actually write it. And I finished it right about, I guess it was about June 1st of 2020. So we launched it into COVID world when no one was getting outside. So, but it did really well despite that, because that's what people needed, and it's doing better this year because everyone's getting back outside now. So, but yeah, it was an interesting process, and I'd written lots of articles, but never a 40,000 word book of original thoughts. And it was kind of tough. It was hard. It was much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Was that your first book?
Yeah, first book. Yeah, and now I'm already on the second one, and it's easier. I don't know when that's going to be done, but it's easier once you learn how to do it, how to organize your thoughts, and you get the confidence. Again, I was talking about self-esteem before. Now that I've written one, it's easier to write number two, because I know I can do it, and I know how to work with an editor, and I know how to lay it out, and I know I've gone down that path. So number two is easier. I would imagine someone who is a professional writer, by the time they're at book 10, they're on automatic pilot. That must be kind of fun to get to that point. Maybe I will.
I gotta ask, and you don't have to entirely give me your secret sauce on this, but I'm trying to write something myself, and I find myself jumping from topic to topic, just writing what I feel like I can get out in that moment, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be able to piece it all together afterwards. Was that something similar to your process, or were you able to?
Exactly my process. I did the same thing. I thought it was going to be easy, and then my editor and I have a person who's kind of like my strategic guide, got me into outlining it tighter. And then fortunately, I had two really spectacular editors to help me rearrange some of the flow of the book. And I also had a consultant to help me tighten up the stories. So I had a good team that gave me good advice. But yeah, I did exactly that. I started out thinking, hey, this is easy. It's just going to flow. And it was harder. And strangely enough, the book is about 40,000 words. When I finished doing the way I started, I had 57,000 words, and it was way too long. It was boring, and I spent like 3 months cutting it down because I had just put in random thoughts. It wasn't a tight outline, and I hadn't bounced it off enough people. But you learn how to do it. You tighten it up, and you get some good feedback. And also, my secret was, I don't know about you, but I'm of the generation that didn't learn to type. So I am a hunt and peck, and I think faster than I type. And I discovered that when I used dictation through Google Docs, it was a big boost. I'd never used it before, but when I talked the book, it went a lot faster. And then I went and I tightened it up by, with my own typing, but talking it was much easier, and that helped things go a lot faster.
That's interesting. No, I've never tried that, and someone might think that it might be easy for me to do that since I already kind of talk with the microphone in my face. But for some reason, I feel like just talking out loud with no one around, it's a little unnerving for me. Something I have to get used to.
It took a while to get used to, but I got better at it. Yeah.
For sure. I'm going to throw you another curveball. This one's going to be a shout out question. So you could mention someone if you want to, but if you don't, keep it general as possible. But did you ever have a favorite teacher, coach, or mentor?
Yeah, I've had a couple of mentors. It's hard to get through business without having a couple of mentors. My first really good mentor was a guy named Fred LeDrew. He was my boss in the late 80s to the early 90s. And he just kind of got me, and he let me be me, and he encouraged me. And so, yeah, he stands out as probably the best boss I ever had, and best mentor. And then a couple along the way, but Fred LeDrew, and he's since passed on, but he was the best boss mentor I ever had.
For sure. Would you say you're a mentor to anyone now, or?
I think I am. I've worked in a number of different categories and a number of different companies over the years. And one of the things I'm proudest of is I still have a bunch of people who I give advice to, and some of them still work with me in these entrepreneurial ventures. And I'm really pleased that I've been able to have a cadre of people that I've been collaborating with for 30, 40 years in some cases.
Wow, yeah. you're able to build those lifelong connections.
But that's probably one of the most rewarding things about having a long career is those connections.
Yeah, that's one thing I struggle with for myself. I've had a lot of jobs in the past 10 years, and it always gets hard to say, to want to leave, and have those final days of saying goodbye to all these people that I felt like I've shared this experience with. And yeah, I think that's something that I've never really taken into account when I make my decision to move on. And yeah, it seems to get harder the more I do it. So interesting perspective. All right, go ahead and throw me one more number.
21.
21, level 3. What is something that you pray for?
I pray that my kids have it easier going forward, or even the whole next generation. I don't like what I see out there right now. From your age forward, I think my generation had it really easy. My parents had to live through the Depression and World War II. I lived through the boom years, and now my kids are living through a very unstable period of global instability and confusion. And I pray for that to settle down and for us to reach a new level where it isn't as controversial and confrontational. I think we're in a bad place right now, and not just here in America. I think the whole world is kind of unsettled. I wish that would settle down. So a whole generation after me, my kids and your generation, gets to understand, gets an easier ride.
Would you say that's possible in your kids' lifetime, my lifetime, to see kind of that next level, or it's going to take
34? I don't know. I think about this every day, right? It's troubling what I see happening, and I think it's possible. Typically, earth-shattering things have to happen. I mean, they say the best way to achieve the next level is through some kind of a war, but I pray we don't have to deal with that. World War II was the thing that set the world on its current path. Do we have to live through that again? God, I hope not. I hope not. So I hope through some combination of global economy and technology and just people coming to their senses, that we can have a period of stability and growth without all this confrontation.
I feel you. And one follow-up to that, is there any issue that you feel like the world should prioritize first? I know there's a lot, so it could be a question that could just be there's too many to choose from.
Yeah, it's such a complicated place. I don't think there's an easy answer to it, 34. I think a lot of things have to go right. I just wish the temperature would settle down. I think social media has made everything more confrontational and black and white in terms of, one side or the other. We're all, it's too confrontational. And so people can't collaborate. People can't see the other person's point of view. It's all the time arguing. And so I love social media. I use it daily. I've got lots of profiles. My companies use it all the time. But the downside of it is it's made the world more tense and ugly place. So I hope we sort it out.
Me too. And, sometimes I think like your kids, my generation, we're the ones that are feeling it. And I can kind of see it from the younger generation, even after us, where they're kind of seeing it a lot younger and, they're being more aware of it. So maybe the solutions will come to them sooner than they will for it.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm kind of embarrassed for the way things are going to have that, the younger kids just be confronted with this mess. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mr. Pazzani, sorry about that. Just want to thank you again. We've made it to the concluding portion, so I do have about 3 more questions for you. This question is actually going to be from my previous guest, and shout out to Elias for this question. His question for you is, what do you believe got you to where you are? Was it more the people or your experiences or any objects? But what do you believe got you to where you are?
Well, I do believe that you are in charge of your fate. So I think it's been again, in the context of a better start to my career, a more stable place. I was always persistent and competitive, and I tried very hard. And so I'd have to say it's my own hard work and struggles that got me to this place, and my own decisions, good and bad. Some people can blame other people for how they got somewhere. I think I'm responsible for where I am. So I've made some good decisions along the way and hard work. I made some mistakes and bad decisions along the way and hard work. And maybe some combination of all that has got me to this point. We'll see how it goes from here on out.
For sure. I wish more people had that I wouldn't call it pride. I wouldn't call it more like awareness of how much what they do is what gets them to where where they want to be. I'm
can't blame other people for where you are. You have the ability to choose.
I hear you. And then the second question is, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 questions?
Interesting. I would like to ask them, what have they done today to make the world a better place?
Gotcha. Just typing it out. Done today to make the world a better place. Okay. And then my final question, the question that ties everything together. If this was being watched by your descendants 500 years from now, what would you like them to know about you?
Wow, 500 years from now, man. Well, I'd like them to know that I think I was the first person in the family. We're immigrants from Italy to be a college graduate in America, to have a good career, and to hopefully launch that legacy of teaching at a population level people to be happier, healthier, fitter, more active in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, to live longer, happier, healthier lives, and to create a company and leave that company behind as a legacy that does that on a big scale.
For sure. Any last things to add that you want to add before we head out?
This is profound, 34. I really enjoyed this. It's kind of like therapy and a little bit of a Rorschach test of kind of bouncing ideas off the rest of the world. I hope this did it for you. It was interesting for me to think this stuff through with no preparation, and it's an opportunity to really think about some of these questions. So good job. I like your format. Really nice. I wish you well with this. It's kind of fun.
Thank you, sir. For the folks out there who don't know, this is the first time we've ever met. So it's been a pleasure to hear your stories, for you to dispense your knowledge and advice. So it's been great on my end. I'm glad that you found it valuable, and hopefully the whole idea behind this too is something I have to remind myself that it's not something for the short term. I feel like it'll be more valuable later in the future, after we can kind of look back on these experiences and conversations, and ultimately this is just for you and your family, and hopefully they find value in it someday.
500 years from now, yeah.
perhaps so thank you again for coming on. I hope I will let you know when the episode releases. At this point in my schedule, it's looking more like sometime first week or second week of June. Just a heads up. I'll send you a copy for you to take a look and everything, and you can let me know if there's anything that needs to be taken out. But yeah.
Fun. I've enjoyed it greatly. Thank you so much for inviting me, 34. It's been a privilege.
Awesome. Same here. I want to thank the folks out there for also checking out the video, for listening. Feel free to subscribe, it grinds my gears having to say those things, but go ahead and do what you got to do. Till next time, reach out, reach forward. Catch you guys later.